Hello and welcome to this tutorial video, and I'm trying something different today. Small short form videos, which I show you how to do something. I'm making an eye and you get to decide what it's for. Because this is just a practice piece. This is how you can get better at smaller scale stuff by just testing it out. You can roll out pieces for the eyelids and just give yourself like the general contour shape. If this were small, you'd use a silicone shaper, but this size, you can just use your fingers. I generally work in Sculpey because it's stronger, and this just doesn't have the same type of strength to it. It breaks easier. But for projects like this, I would recommend you use cheaper clay, like I'm currently using. When you can smooth this out into an eyebrow ridge, you can get something that looks like that. Now we can experiment with textures. Let's say that this is a scaly eye, perhaps of a reptile. You can just take out a ball stylus and you just run it in some small circles to make some scales. This can be done for larger scale products like this. Not products, projects. You don't have to monetize your hobbies. Now, as you can see, especially with the Sculpey here, that the dust can, like little clay particles can get stuck up. And what I do is I take a brush. I see a lot of channels use isopropyl alcohol, but I've tried that close to a dozen times and it never works for me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I don't do that because it just won't work. So, for my opinion, use a brush, I guess. Although it can muddy up your details, so you might have to go redo it like I am now. Now for some more interesting practice texture, let's do some scutes on the eyebrow. Remember, this piece isn't so that you have something that looks beautiful or something that makes sense. This is so you know how to do those things some other time. Right now, this is for making mistakes or doing this. A deep gouge line. Oh no, look, that looks like such a terrible mistake. Now it's a new scute. I was doing that for an example, and I found a way to get around it. You can too. Now I'm just going to finish up these scutes. Now here's the hard part where I'm probably going to mess up all my work. I forgot to do this on a non-stick surface. So this is probably going to warp all my stuff pretty badly. But I have to do it. And here's the final result. It smushed the edges, but it'll be okay. Now I'm going to go bake it. Now I've decided, what if our eye is a dragon's eye? So I'm just going to do like a red rim around here for a very ominous feel. You know, like just like the classic red dragon. But then I'm going to try something different. Let's get some orange paint on here. It goes in the same and on top of the red, and look, when we blend it together, we can get like a whole bunch of different colors. This is useful for something I often call, or often heard called, color variation. It's just a way to get extra color onto the model, or in our case, what I'm going to call practice piece. Then you can put the red back on the bottom, just so you have like wet blending, which is what this is. So there you go. Alright, now I'm going to do something different. Let's get some brown on here. I feel like that could really saturate the red up top. And it looks kind of weird now, but we're going to blend it in with the red. Get a nice dark red going on. Now let's put an eye on him. Now I've reinforced the same wet blends from earlier, because what they don't tell you is that if you're using thin paints, you're going to have to do it again. And maybe a third time. That's what I'm doing right here with this red paint. As you can see, it has that nice glowing effect. I'm going to see if I can now darken the brow ridge to enhance that. Now I have thinner brushes, but I wanted to show that you can paint anything with anything. So this is a relatively thicker brush, and we're going for a slit pupil here. This is the guideline. We can accentuate it more later, but that's what it's going to look like for now. Now that I've introduced the black, let's get some of the orange on here, just to add the effect around the pupil. Now let's have it be streaking out. There we go for now. It's pretty rad. Now I've just dotted some red on here to add even more effect, and now we can kind of brush some of that red away just a little bit to add more variation to it, make it streakier. As you can see, I think that has a nice effect. Let's go back to this eye and just like reestablish the pupil. There we go. Now what I'm doing is called a dark wash, and this is going to accentuate the scales by getting in the cracks between them. And then we're going to smear off the top scales. That way it only stays in the cracks. Makes it look cooler. Now let's see if I can get it in between the eyebrow ridges, scutes. Now what I'm doing is called a Drybrush. This is when you dry off the paint a little bit by rubbing it back and forth on a paper towel or cardboard. And this will take out most of the moisture of the paint, but you can still use the paint that will catch the edges to highlight. Now what I'm doing is called a Drybrush. This is just when you rub off most of the moisture of your paintbrush on something like a paper towel or cardboard, and then you rub what remains of the paint on your model. And it appears that I did this a little bit heavily with water still on my brush somehow. It didn't look wet, but I guess it was. May as well finish to keep it consistent. So that's something you gotta look out for. That's okay, because this is just a test piece and it's for making mistakes. And that was a mistake. Now what I can do to fix that catastrophic failure of dry brushing is take it to another wash. Black again. And just do that. You could also just take a wet brush and wipe off the paint, but nah, let's roll with it. So it'll re-highlight the scales for me. And I think we'll be done. These are the paints I use for this project. This one is surprisingly lighter than it appears in bottle. The rest are fine. Now let's get some close-up shots. The dragon's eye. Not much I can do in the way for glamour shots for this one. But there you can see all the variations in color we got. I only applied 6. For the main body, I only applied 3. Brown, orange, and red. Oh, well, there's the black wash. So 4. But look at all those colors. Like how the bright eyebrow ridges and stuff. Just a nice little hobby project. Practice. If you would like more random videos of small tutorials for things like this, even though this one has a long run time because it's 2 tutorials really, let me know in the comments below.